Now, President Zelensky suggested that tensions between Fedorov and the military establishment prompted the firing. Fedorov has accused Zelensky and a top general of blocking much-needed reforms. The now former defense minister is making his anger clear over that decision. Fedorov said he rejected an advisor role offered by President Zelensky. He also ripped into Ukrainian military chief Oleksandr Syrsky, accusing him of splitting the country. Daria Kaleniuk is the co-founder and executive director of the Anti-Corruption Action Center in Kyiv. She told the Kyiv Independent that she planned on joining the protest. She joins me now from the Ukrainian capital. Daria, good to have you with us on what are tumultuous times yet again in Ukraine. I mean, why do you believe President Zelensky has made this move and what's behind it? Because I note that some protesters have made some stunning claims accusing Zelensky of letting corruption rule. And they blame that, they see that as the reason that he took to changing his government.
It's a very good question why Zelensky reshuffled government in order to dismiss the most effective minister of defense since a large-scale war has started. We didn't have the answer, so the people went on the streets to demand answers and explanations. What I can say about Mykhailo Fedorov is that under his leadership, there was actually attack on vested interests of the corruption groups who were benefiting a lot for quite a long time from defense procurements. And Fedorov tried to build up trust with international partners and with the people of Ukraine and with Ukrainian industry to ensure that he effectively spends very scarce money which we have for defense. And that, I think, really disappointed a lot of vested interests who rallied in surrounding our Soviet-style thinking general, Alexander Syrsky, and altogether they outweighed all the successes of Mykhailo Fedorov. The question is why Zelensky picked up the side of corrupt interests and of ineffective Soviet-style thinking generals.
Right, but what evidence do you have that he's actually doing that? And I should say, you know, you've been very clear that the way forward for Ukraine, despite the war, must be an internal cleansing, as you call it. But do you have any evidence that that is why Zelensky is doing this? Because obviously, I can only imagine in this situation how difficult it is for him to keep different factions within his own government pulling in the same direction.
He doesn't have different faction within his own government. He is himself his own government. He has absolute power, majority in the parliament, and he himself decides who is the government and who are the ministers. What I can say is the fact that under Minister Fedorov, there was corruption really attacked. Under previous ministers of defense, we were exposing corruption of the previous ministers, and we were demanding the resignation of the previous ministers of defense. So the question is to Zelensky, why? It's Ukraine, you know, is not authoritarianism or totalitarian country. Even in a wartime, during the martial law, the people of Ukraine demand explanations. You can't just ignore the questions from the people of Ukraine who are outraged. And I think that the people of Ukraine will keep rallying, demanding these explanations.
But what is at stake here for Ukraine in this moment? And I will add, do you believe that it is time that Ukraine have elections?
We can't have elections because Russia will hijack. We can't let our military leave our battlefield and go vote. We can't do that, allowing our military to run for elections because they are on their duty. So there has to be a lot of preparatory work conducted to run the elections, and Russia has actually to stop bombing our cities. So the question is how within that framework we still can maintain a democracy. And rallies for us is the only way how to actually hold Zelensky accountable. And we will keep doing that. And the situation is very dangerous because we are entering in a very dangerous period. For the last half a year, under the leadership of Fedorov, we actually gained a momentum on the battlefield. We were lacking ballistic missiles, Patriot missiles, to shoot down ballistics, which Russians is firing on our cities, but we were very effective in shooting down Russian Shahid drones. For winter and for autumn, Russia is planning to terrorize all our cities all across the country and populate Kiev, the capital, where actually my kids are still, and I live with them. And I really am concerned that the very effective minister who is taking care of air defense and of innovations in the army is sacked because basically the safety of my children directly depends on these decisions of President Zelensky. So I'm outraged.
Daria, we can certainly hear in your voice how grave the situation is right now. And again, given everything people in Ukraine have been through. We're going to leave it there for now, but we will continue to follow this story. I really appreciate you being on the program.